Very good time. Very active.
Except for Pat's
Call this meeting to order with the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I think I'll do that then.
Right. Hey, if any of you that have the agenda can see, we have a busy night, so let's get right to things. Who is recording tonight? Mark? Us? That's it? Nobody else? Okay, awesome. First set of minutes is August 13th, 2012.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from August 13th, 2012.
Second.
Anybody have any comments on it? I have one. On the last page. Second line starts, Mr. Stewart said he will not do that. Mr. Stewart said that if Winchendon presses charges and he's not found guilty, then he is not guilty. I should say, I think Mr. Stewart said that unless Winchendon presses charges. Okay, because it doesn't make sense the way it's written.
Oh, the last part.
Yeah, the very last paragraph. It just doesn't make sense the way it's written. Okay? Other than that, I didn't see any other problems with this one. Anybody else have anything? Hearing none. Julie?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And you have to abstain. Great. And yes. I have to abstain. He was not here. Okay, December 3rd.
Move to accept the minutes as written on December 3rd.
Second.
Okay. Any errors, omissions, changes that need to be made on this one? Hearing none. Julie?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And Patrick?
Yes.
And December 17th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from December 17th, 2012.
Second.
Anybody have any errors, omissions, statements that need to be changed on this set? Seeing none. Patrick?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
All right. In the minutes. Mr. McGuirk and Patrick. And Dennis, sorry. You're up.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well.
So I'm going to begin with a brief overview, if you don't mind.
Sure.
In 1861, under Massachusetts state law, the Massachusetts Department of Veterans Services under Chapter 115 was created. From that point on, it evolved into many things, including providing financial assistance to veterans and/or spouses and/or dependents in need. The key to it all is that the veteran had to have been discharged under honorable conditions at any time, regardless whether it was wartime or peacetime, and if they met all the criteria, then they could be eligible for benefits. Subsequently, as with a lot of other things happening right now, this particular district was one of the first to form a district, which is a form of regionalization, because that's what the state is attempting to do with many different things. So in context, I meet a number of people on a regular basis. Matter of fact, Chapter 115 is only about 25% of my workload at the moment. The other 75% is VA related stuff. So a veteran or a spouse or a widow can come into my office and apply for benefits. I'll review all the information. I'll either approve or deny based upon criteria. Any active recipient of veterans benefits, I investigate. I conduct a formal investigation annually to ensure that they are in fact compliant with the law. And if they are not, I will terminate them. I will cite a number of regulations in reference to their termination, and the likelihood of them ever being eligible for veteran benefits again will be some extended period of time in the future. For every veteran that receives benefits, we do not issue warrants, we issue what you call orders. And under the orders to pay, the state law requires that we issue the order for each individual person, which I send over, actually prior to the previous month's end. And from that point, the accountant cuts the checks and makes payment to the veterans. Assist with homeless people. What people don't realize is I have a number of local shelters. It's called transitional housing. Many of the veterans have lost their jobs and end up being homeless because they can no longer afford their rents or their mortgages, so they're literally out on the street. And one of the programs I heavily utilize is the Montezuma Veterans Outreach Center in Gardner. They have a transitional housing program where they will help, they'll house the veteran. This is something that the town has to pay for. They'll put them through a rigid counseling program. Perhaps the guy has alcoholic tendencies or some form of drug abuse, but at the time they enter into the program, they have to be clean. And there is a curfew associated with that, and by the end of the 12-month program, the goal is to have that person placed in a position such that they can become self-sustaining financially. I assist, especially in the past 12 months, there have been what we call an indigent veteran, the veteran or the spouse who does not have the money to pay for their own burial services. Templeton, we've had 2 such cases in the last 12 months. As long as the cost of the funeral by the funeral home does not exceed $3,000, they will be reimbursed $2,000 through Chapter 115. We also process a number of veteran bonuses. I've actually processed 2 recently for World War II veterans who did not apply for theirs at the end of World War II. Today in particular, each person serving in Iraq, that's a $1,000 bonus. For each person serving in Afghanistan, that's a $1,000 bonus. For each subsequent deployment, there's an additional $500 bonus. I processed recently an application for a person who had 2 tours in Afghanistan, so that was $1,000 and $500. He had 4 tours in Afghanistan, so that's how often these people are going over there. Then for the 100% service-connected veteran, I processed what the state calls an annuity application. This is a tax-free annuity available only to veterans with 100% service-connected disabilities. And also, Templeton is one of the towns in the state, Athol is, Boston is, many towns, the veteran who is 10% to 100% service-connected have not applied for their property tax exemptions. Property tax exemptions for service-connected disabilities from 10% to 90% yields a $400 property tax exemption. For the 100% service-connected, $1,000 annually. That's a summary of Chapter 115, and I could go on to what's really triggering all the work, but much of the work for these people to benefit from the annuities and property tax exemptions have to be certified with a rating by the Department of Veterans Affairs. So that's how the 2 get coupled together. So would you like me to go into the VA, or would you like to prefer just to discuss Chapter 115 and what makes up the board and how we conduct business from an administrative point of view?
Well, I think we have some actual questions that I'd like to go through. So I guess the first thing I'd like to know is, we had a set amount for this year. And then Dennis came and said that we were in need of giving an additional $27,500 in funds for the year ending June 30th. Right. I guess our question was, did we get more people going on to these benefits, or you know, what was the trigger of all this additional service?
Well, this is a very unknown program out there. People from this building have referred people to my office. Council on Aging has referred people. Montezuma Home Care Corporation. All these referrals come to me. And you really can't target a specific number because you don't know who's going to show up. A person living in Gardner, a person living in Boston, if they relocate into this town, they're eligible for the same benefit. And you just can't predict that. But what I do is I keep a pretty good pulse of what's going on. And that's where one of the priorities of a board member is I keep them well informed of a trend that may be developing and give them enough advance notice to let them know additional funds will be necessary at about this point in time to complete the year. Now, the danger in that money not being made available is, first of all that money you're going to get 75% back.
When? When do we get the
4 quarters
reimbursement?
out.
So a year later? we get
Roughly,
reimbursed?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, the danger of not paying it, so, for example, I issue orders to pay 10 veterans, let's say 10 grand, and the town pays 8,000, or the town says it cannot pay anything. By law, I'm to go to the state treasurer, have him cut a check for every dollar necessary to pay those benefits. That $10,000 plus an additional $2,500 will come off next year's cherry sheet to this town, because the state had to end up paying it. So my goal has always been, well, it's one of my private sector skills, is to keep track of things on an ongoing basis, to eliminate any and all surprises if possible, such that the town doesn't suffer in one way or another way. In this way, I had a similar problem last year where the representative did not present a requested change that was given to him in October until March, I think it was. So once I give this information to a representative, then it gets passed on. Does that help?
It does. Yeah, I think that was part of this problem is, you sent this email to Dennis on September 26th, and we didn't get it till December, the end of November, early December.
After our fall meeting.
After our town meeting in November.
Well, Dennis and I and Jeff have agreed that I would begin copying Dennis on those types of emails.
I
Copy
think
Jeff.
Jeff, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead, Julie.
the question that I had in September, when you had this conversation with Dennis or Jeff or whoever, and we were now an additional 27,000, that was the request that you're making, that's 3 months into the fiscal year. That's 1 quarter. So we originally budgeted 35,000, and now at this point, within 90 days, you're telling us you need another 27.
Not 90 days. We have to have the budget done in November of the prior year. So that's 10 months in advance.
The way it was explained to me is that the chairman of the advisory board had approached you when we were making cuts in our budget. The chairman of our advisory board,
Mr.
Will
Spring.
Spring, he's right
Who?
behind you.
Mr. Spring, right behind you.
Yes, I did.
When did you contact Max?
When you came to the meeting, sometime back when we were in Kiva Room, and I asked that if there was going to be additional funding because we were doing the budgets process.
See, by state law, I have to do the budgets in November, so that they're given to the towns in December. So FY14 budgets are already in the hands of the town, effective December 31st.
Right, we
So-
were voting the budget, the projection that you had
Yeah,
in May
yeah.
for this fiscal year. So you gave that to the town back in December? Okay.
And with in that, on that particular form, it describes all the known and unknown factors that can impact that. Tomorrow morning, I could have 3 people come into the office. Let me give you an example. In December 2007, go ahead, Joe.
The question is just that. So I have your recent December budget right here for fiscal 14. Thank you, it's great. Between here and the May town meeting, when we vote this budget, things can change, things do change. Your understanding of what this town will owe next fiscal year will certainly be, I guarantee you, it will be different in May than it is in this budget.
And I will inform the town of that.
Can you inform us at that time so that we can modify this budget in time for our fiscal 14 year?
If I had the information, that would have been modified.
Yeah.
Phillipson was modified in that time frame.
Okay.
Yeah. But the information that's available to me the following months after I submit it to the board.
Okay. Whether someone's increasing benefits or joining the town,
I
or,
will notify them.
I gave you a copy of that, Jeff, a long time ago, that same copy.
of the budget.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about.
yeah.
Anybody else have questions for us?
I have a question.
I wanted, just to give you an example, at December 31st, 2007, there were 4,600 cases statewide. Today, there are 9,115. That's a 94% increase. December 2007, the state reimbursed towns $18,347,000. December 31st, 2012, they're reimbursing towns $56,355,000, or 200% more than what was issued 5 short years ago.
That's great.
So just cases alone, it's gone up almost 100%. Kurt, you care for this?
Do you ex-
I was gonna let Peter go
yeah, go
first.
ahead.
Peter, go
How many
ahead.
more towns are you asking for a jump in the rates? You asking for $5 jump the rate? You asking for Irving, Royalston, you're just asking Templeton to go up $25,000, $27,000?
Templeton needs to go up based upon the number
Well,
of,
how come the other towns don't have to?
it's all based upon the people receiving benefits.
The amount of veterans in
Have
the
that
town.
many more
Do,
come into Templeton?
okay, let me ask you another question.
I'm paying Athol $150,000, veterans over there.
Let me ask you another question. Does O'Brien get paid for this job?
No,
You don't get paid out of it? Don't laugh, I'm asking a question, because you did a lot of sneaky things.
there's a lot of
You're
hope.
sneaky.
Don't
There's
forget.
a lot of what?
So,
I'm just trying to understand the numbers. So we budgeted 35,000, is that what you're saying?
yeah, that's what that was in the.
That was what budget, and now an additional 27,000 is needed to get us through
June 30th, yeah.
June 30th.
Do we know how many cases we have in Templeton?
Right now?
Yeah.
Yes, 9.
No, okay.
Yeah.
9,
And how many did,
$50,000?
There's a variety of reasons people get a certain amount of money, and I can't share that with anyone.
Right, that's, okay.
Privacy.
Virginia, you had a question for us?
That's all right.
Go ahead, Joe.
what I think would be a good starting point is to get the historical data for the town of Templeton on the number of cases and the number of year, and when the cases started. I don't need to know who they are, I don't need to know where they live, I don't need to know how old they are. But I do need to know how many cases we've had and what the increase has been and when the increases happen. I think that would be a good starting point.
What would you need that information for?
So maybe we can look at trends,
That's what I look at, that's my position.
right? So you
As
should be
the
able to
district.
provide the data, which is awesome.
So he'll have to take this to the board to get their permission to do that.
So it's not public record?
Not
The amount of,
individuals.
not the
Not
amount
asking
of
for
cases.
It's not
we're
asking for names.
But he can come to the board and request that to be done as something out of the ordinary.
Because of the, what's going on in the Middle East, and we're probably going to be having a lot of people coming home this
Right.
year, is that going to affect us?
Possibly, yeah. Because many of them are coming back are unemployable. We file for a VA claim. It takes 18 months to 2 years to process it.
And just so we all understand, whether we had you to go through or not, we have to pay these benefits.
Regardless.
Yeah.
This is, you need to understand, this is authorized by the Secretary of Massachusetts Department of Veteran Services. He's the one who actually issues the order. He's the one who actually issues the order to make those payments.
Doug?
Yeah, of this money, it's like 62,000 if you add the 35 and 27. How much of that is actually being paid on these 9 cases? I mean, is it
All of it.
100%?
100%.
So these 9 people are getting 100% of that 62,000.
Where does your salary come from, sir?
Okay.
Where does your salary come from?
The district.
Is it part of that money that we give?
No, there's 2 separate entities. There's an administrative budget where the towns are assessed a portion of the total budget for the district to operate.
How much does that cost the town of Templeton?
What is the figure
What is
for
it?
the administrative
22,000 a
Yeah,
year?
22,000, 21,992.66.
Thank you.
That's the only,
Yeah, it's two separate line items. when we
Okay.
have-
yeah,
when we have the
Wasn't sure.
the district's only authority is with the administrative budget. The veteran benefit budget is basically a projection I make based on the trends that are developing. See, like, you brought up a good point about with the PTSD person coming back today, the VA is very slow in responding to the claims because they cannot work, they physically and mentally cannot work, and we do have to pay them Chapter 115 benefits. But there's a caveat in there where anybody that applies for benefits, they have to sign a agreement to reimburse, meaning anytime they get income that's retroactive to a certain point in time, they're supposed to repay that amount, because in effect, you can look at it from the perspective is the veteran's benefit made sort of a loan out there for that particular thing.
Neil, how does that $22,000 administrative fee, how is it set up per town? Is it by the amount of veterans, or
No, it's
each town should
based
set a
upon the
fee?
Department of Revenue population,
So the population in the town itself, not so much veterans?
based
or-
upon how they deliver their state aid to the communities.
Okay.
There's two ways of doing it. One is property valuations,
Right.
and the other is population.
And how many other towns do you take care of?
4.
4 other towns besides Templeton?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like
It was
Athol,
what was on that list, right?
Yes.
Athol, Phillipston.
Tilton, Peter Sam, and Lawrence. That's right.
Sue?
Hi, sorry, I'm just trying to follow this all. So of the 62.5, which is the 35 plus the 27.5, we will get 70, that's actually going to the veterans in our town. We get back 75% of that in 4 quarters in a year.
Yes.
Okay, but then on top of that, we're paying for the administrative cost of, what was that number?
22,000.
22,000, and that we don't get back, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Could that be cut?
What's that?
Could that be cut?
You have to talk to the board.
But it couldn't be cut.
Any other
His
questions?
pay, $22,000 for administration.
Right,
Excuse me?
right.
Can your pay be cut by the town?
No.
Why can't it?
What?
Why can't it? You're working for the town.
No, I'm not. The town does not have a Department of Veteran Services. The town is a member of the Northeast Quabbin District. Now, the town in 2005 had representatives from Phillipston, Royalston, Peter Sam, and Athol got together to form this
That's
district.
when we had the young lady from Peter Sam.
Who was that?
Went to the young lady from Peter Sam did it first, or was she from Athol?
Tony?
Where was she from?
Athol.
Jeff, you had a question?
Um,
Up here first.
Yeah, just the question is about the contract which binds us. It's a MOU, this,
Memo of understanding. I think, however, selectmen, or was that a town meeting? That was 2005, yeah.
the vote was taken, so it would have to be taken in all 5 towns synonymously to bind themselves into this district.
Right, and it was people from every town, so board members of the, select board members. I don't remember, see, it happened before I came on board.
That was the question.
That was your question, okay?
Was it Jerry Scully?
Yeah, could be, yeah, Jerry.
Any other questions from the board? Any other?
Do we know what the district, as a whole, the administrative costs are?
$64,000.
Yep, right here. Yep. The
That
proposed
includes
for-
me renting office space in the Athol Town Hall, so I don't have to go outside the building. It's got to be secure, have to have fireproof. The only person that can get into my office would be a firefighter.
That we pay 22?
Technology, the phone services, internet services, all those other things are captured.
It's all broke down on that.
Yeah.
And it's
So-
not a luxury space.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that because there's a lot of chatter back here. I can't hear a lot of things. You said the total administrative cost for all the towns was 64,000, and we pay 22? And what do the other towns pay for administrative costs?
Jeff's got it right there.
Right here, got a budget.
You have to break down.
Get a copy afterwards, it's public record.
Okay.
65, 242, 42 is the proposed, fiscal 14 budget. It's about a 12-line budget.
Well, I'm just, how many towns are in the district?
5 towns,
And we pay a third?
And we're paying a third, that just seems.
33.71%.
Goes by population.
It goes by population, so what other towns are in
It's
there?
Phillipston,
Petersham,
Athol,
Royalston.
Petersham, and Royalston.
Athol pays 48.73% of
Didn't
the
you just,
total.
how many towns are in it altogether?
5.
Five, okay.
We're the second largest, I
Right,
believe.
Athol
Yeah.
pays
Well, you're the one,
48%.
the only town that's growing.
We pay 33. And in descending order, Phillipston, 7%, Petersham, 5.2, and Royalston, 5.2%.
When are these numbers updated? Like, I mean, when do they check to see?
DOR number?
Yes, the DOR
Every
numbers.
year.
Every year.
Prior to the issue of the budget.
Okay, I was thinking, I was just wondering if it's done by the census maybe.
No,
Okay.
no.
Kurt first, and then Will.
You said that if the town, whatever can't, won't, don't, whatever pay, then the state will pay it and just take it off the cherry sheet?
Right.
Is it dollar for dollar?
$1.25 for every dollar you don't pay.
Or at least it's all accounted for, right?
Yeah.
It's as we need it, so we don't need to be overpaying to try to get some of it back. I'm just saying it's an option because the town's so broke right now. You're paying interest on your money, but at least you're not paying your money right now. So, just a thought.
Are there fines though too that you would not get that reambrsement?
25%.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, are there fines other than you won't get your reimbursement too if you don't pay it?
If you read, I'll give you a letter from the Attorney General,
Right.
the Lieutenant Governor, and the Secretary of Massachusetts Department of Veterans Services. Today, there are 146 communities in the state that are in non-compliance with state law. Templeton is not. Athol is not, Phillipston is not, Petersham is not, and Royalston is not. Believe me, you don't want to become non-compliant with state law.
So you're saying we're not
We're not non-compliant.
Why aren't they?
We are compliant.
We're
We are
okay.
compliant.
You said it backwards.
Pushing backwards.
See, many towns aren't even getting their reimbursements. One town, right today, after the last 2 months in calendar year 12, there's $290,000 sitting for reimbursements that were never issued or requested. It's actually requested once I submit the close of business to the town treasurer, they certify it. At that moment, the treasurer knows exactly what reimbursement's coming.
Well, I only had one question. If I understood you correctly, if the town had their own veteran administration, we would not have to take it, end up being in the district. Is that correct?
Right. Probably cost you about $35,000. Between technology, it's gonna have to be a full-time position.
The law sets out
We have to have a
about what you
veterans
have to
We
have.
had
They have to have an
for
office
years
that's
here without full-time
accessible.
position. We had Harold Hayes up on the South Road for years and years. Veterans
Any,
Agent stuff there.
okay, quiet. Any other questions? We have like 3 minutes, we have a hearing at 7 o'clock, so. Does anybody else have questions for Mr. McGuirk? Or comments?
It's the best-run district in the state. We've been recognized as that. As far as districts go, we're the only district that has total 100% compliance, not only with towns, paying towns, certifying, and recipients not being in non-compliance, committing fraud or some other thing. So it's pretty comprehensive.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Neil is doing a heck of a job, I'll tell you right now.
You wait.
Hey, I don't care what you say, Peter.
Dennis,
anyway.
don't even bait me.
Ball and chain.
Yes, I will.
On my watch, I have 7 o'clock, even though that clock doesn't have 7 o'clock.
I have 7.
So, at this time, we're going to open the public hearing for the CDBG. Find my way. Town of Templeton, through its Community Development Office, will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 14th, 2013, at 7 p.m. The purpose of the hearing is to discuss the proposed federal FY 2013 grant application to the Massachusetts Community Development Block Grant Program. Under the FY 13 Community Development Fund, I grant proposal, the town of Templeton intends to seek funding to upgrade water, drainage, roadway, and sidewalk infrastructure in the Back Bay neighborhood of Baldwinville. The grant application may include additional activities such as a public social service activity. The public hearing will also update the public on the progress of the town's current FY 2011, FY 2012 Mass CDBG program, CDF grants. The public hearing will also discuss proposed revisions to the town's community development strategy. Okay, I guess you're up.
Well, thank you for having me here. Just to give you a brief rundown of what we're talking about. The Mass Department of Housing and Community Development annually gets a set allotment of funds from HUD to put towards the Community Development Block Grant Program. Towns such as Templeton are put in the CDF1 pool at the state level, which are comparable towns, socioeconomic wise, size, factors like that. And you get a competitive pool this year. The pool was about $12 million. It's been roughly the same for the past few years. For FY13, the maximum award for a single activity from a town is $800,000. If you do multiple activities, you can apply for $900,000. This year is the first year that a new regulation is put into effect where any single town is capped at $1.35 million over a 2-year period. So when you factor in what Templeton was awarded last year, this year the town is eligible for $538,272. So as part of any grant application through this program, the town's community development strategy should reflect what the activities are that you're going to be applying for. It needs to meet national objectives and the state's sustainable development principles. So just to kind of dip into the previous grants, as an example, in FY11, the town was awarded about $900,000 for Phase 4 Back Bay and an 8-unit housing rehab program focused on Baldwinville with some funds set aside to do emergency cases in Templeton. The point of the housing rehab program being focused in Baldwinville is there's a requirement within the grant to target multiple activities in the same area of town. Without doing that, we would lose bonus points on the application and it wouldn't be funded. So it's something that we're forced to do. For years, the real driver on this application has been the Back Bay project. So we've always looked for complementary activities to that. So Phase 4 finished up this year with Cherry, Mason, and Summer, as well as Columbus. And we've just been awarded an FY12 grant in a regional application with Hubbardston for about $960,000. Templeton's portion of this is going to rehab Fisher Street on the northern end of Back Bay and fund about 5 units of housing rehab assistance. So that'll be a mix of emergency cases townwide and other cases within the Baldwinville target area. If anyone has any questions on the previous grants, I'd be happy to quickly go over that. Any comments on the progress? We do have a contract award recommendation for Fisher Street to begin construction in the spring that I can talk about at the hearing. Bids have come in for that, well below budget, so we'll actually be able to save the town a considerable amount of the Chapter 90 allotment that they had originally pledged to the project. With any luck, we can actually do this entire project without any Chapter 90 being put into it. Definitely not the 125 that the board was willing to put into it. So if there's no questions on the previous grants, I can quickly talk about the community development strategy. Each year, as part of the grant process, the town needs to put together a document that essentially sums up all of the planning work in town and outlines what the short, medium, and long-range goals are for community development activities in town. It's more of a living planning document. It doesn't bind you to anything, but it does really focus on what the projects are that the town is searching for. In a way, it allows you to develop a project that needs funding versus seeing funding and then trying to create a project for it. It's a slight difference there, but in the grant world, it makes a huge difference. In the past, what we've talked about in the strategy are back bay infrastructure, various roads and bridges throughout town, housing rehab throughout town, senior center improvements or social services targeted at seniors, consolidating elementary schools, ADA design and repair throughout town, municipal offices, town common improvement, and a new police station. We've already held one forum to solicit input on this in previous meetings where I've spoken with the board. I've added some of that input into this year's revision to the community development strategy. We're going to have another meeting on Friday afternoon over at the Legion, and in a couple of weeks we're going to be holding a site walk in Back Bay on Memorial Street where anybody can come out and speak with us as well. So and these basically reflect what I've heard in town, different planning documents, etc., as to what the major goals are. And what I would do is, in the next couple of weeks, when I come back before you to talk about actually submitting the application, at that point we would approve the strategy for submission as well. And that would outline the goals. So as an example, we have roads, bridges as a high priority, something that you want to deal with immediately.
When is this due?
Oh, sorry. It's due February 15th.
And when do you plan on coming back to us?
The 28th.
28th, the next meeting?
Yeah. So at that meeting, we would approve the community development strategy, approve the activities for submission, and funding that the town may or may not need to pledge towards the project, and then the actual submission of the grant. So if there's any discussion on the community development strategy, I'd be happy to add to that.
For this next one, is that what you?
Right. So right now, it's something that every 2 years we have to do an official update, but I've just found that it's a lot easier to continually update the document each year. So this year I'm going to tweak it for, in the past we've had constructed new senior center. Obviously that's changed. So this year it's, I know in the early fall we talked about the driveway to the senior center. So I've kind of modified it to senior center improvements this year as a goal.
Any questions from the board? Any questions in the audience for Mr. Pinkman? Yes.
I have a question. I'm speaking as a taxpayer, not as a sewer commissioner. But I was wondering if the pump station in Baldwin, I'm not sure if it qualifies as part of Back Bay or not, that's going to need major reconstruction in the not too distant future. It's well past its useful life, and I understand it carries, I don't know, pick a number, 60 or 70% of the sewage for the whole town of Templeton. And I don't know if a project like that would fall under this program or not. I've asked Ken Songer to look into it. But
the hard part about a pump station like that, one of the key requirements of the grant is you have to prove that the beneficiaries are predominantly low to moderate income. Mm-hmm. So when you're saying that it's going to benefit 70% of the town, it's essentially a town-wide benefit. So we would
that's what basically most of the sewer originates in Baldwinville. So
well, so it would be it's a lot easier for the grant to fund the sewer main, the sewer lines in the specific street, where you can say the beneficiaries are the residents of that
Okay,
street.
just a question.
So we'd have to qualify what had happened was in Back Bay, we qualified the entire neighborhood.
But if it meets requirements, a project like that would fall under this program?
It depends. On something like that, it would really depend. If there was a pump station that just handled Back Bay, for example, or just handled Graves or something like that, it would be easier to qualify who the beneficiaries were. But something that it's.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's something where it would benefit the whole town essentially, may not be eligible. But that doesn't mean that sewer work altogether isn't eligible.
Nice try.
Any other questions?
Chris, if I might just add to that. In the past, from the beginning, actually, dipping back into the sewer stuff with Back Bay, the reason why there's no sewer included is because the sewer was installed in the mid-70s. So early on, when the project first started off, talking with the sewer commission, there was no need to replace anything. As we go along, if anything gets damaged or anything like that, obviously the contractor and the engineer will work with the sewer department on it. But from the beginning, there hasn't really been any need for it in Back Bay.
The gentleman who just spoke is part of the sewer commission.
So I'm gonna get on it.
Any other questions?
That's gonna be a big,
Do you have anything else you need to
Yeah,
add?
so just to talk about the FY13 application, based on conversation that we've had getting back to late summer about the application, what I've really focused in on now are two activities. The first one will be the final phase of Back Bay, Memorial Street. The board decided back in the fall to put some Chapter 90 funds towards design of the project. The engineer is about 75% done right now. We're going to host a site walk on Memorial Street in the next few weeks on a Saturday morning. Each phase of the project, we've done this, and we invite all the residents out to take a look at the plan, see how it's going to impact their street right in front of their house. And in the past, we've actually made some key changes to the plans based on resident input. So we decided to continue with that. We will have...
You'll let us know when that's going to happen?
Yep. Yeah, I need to schedule it with the engineer. Most likely it will be on the 26th. But I just need to make sure.
It kills that.
So we will have 100% bid-ready plans and specs to maximize our scoring potential on that part of the application. So this will be a nice capstone on the Back Bay project. It'll be, I think, about 7 years into this, and it'll be a great opportunity for the town to really showcase this project to the state as grant funds put to good use. And then the town can open up discussions a little bit more as to where the next target area could be for future block grants.
When we do that, we'll have to do a whole new income study, right?
Yeah, so the original Back Bay income survey was valid automatically for 3 years. We could extend it for 5 by proving that it was still valid. With Fisher Street and Memorial Street, since we're beyond even that 5 years, we've had to income qualify the streets. Because they're, the outliers, we were able to make the argument that just those residents are the beneficiaries of that work, whereas with work on Forest, for example, we had to qualify the entire neighborhood because everybody uses that street in the neighborhood. And while people can use Fisher and Memorial, it's really not the point of access for the rest of the neighborhood. So that's the main part of the project. The budget for that will leave us roughly with $20,000 to $40,000 left, up to that 535 or so thousand cap that the town has this year. So instead of doing a housing rehab program again, in speaking with the board back in the fall when we were throwing around ideas and talk at the senior center came up, it seemed like a natural progression to use that $20,000 to $40,000 as a senior social service activity. And if Eileen would mind giving us a quick explanation of what we're thinking about for this year's activity.
In talking with Mike, he and I had talked along with Jeff, looking at possibly an outreach worker. The position was approved at town meeting in May. It's not been funded, so it will help people throughout the community, not just seniors, but others as well. And to provide services to them, let them be aware of services that are available to them, and getting them services that they may need. So having an outreach worker, that person would be going basically door to door to find out if they need services, and if they need services, what kind of services do they need? Do they need, fuel assistance applications? Do they need food stamp applications? What kind of services is it that they need help with? So that will fill that gap.
And this would be paid 100% by the grant. It wouldn't be grant money.
I just not understand, but do we not have an outreach worker already?
We have a 10-hour outreach worker. That outreach worker makes phone calls and mails birthday cards to folks. So she just calls.
I thought Penny was she's full-time.
She's the social service coordinator, so she would arrange. She arranges services. She helps people fill out applications. She does the shine. She does all of that other stuff.
Dennis?
I thought that they automatically had to use that money, whatever we didn't use for rehab, for those people's houses.
On previous grant applications,
Excuse me for 1 second. Can you people in the back please stop talking? If you want to talk, go in the hall. Thank you.
Are you talking about where we came in under budget, or are you
Yes.
talking about? So right now with the FY12 grant, I'll be able to quickly talk about the bids that came in for that. The town had pledged up to $125,000 of Chapter 90 money.
Yes.
Ideally, that would be zero. And then any actual grant money left over would go to the housing rehab program on that.
Yeah.
But so basically what we do is, try to clean out any cash that the town has put up first, and then we can work within the budget to fund different items.
This would have nothing to do with that would have nothing to do with this?
So what we're talking about is the FY13 grant this is just the application, and it wouldn't include a housing rehab component. Just because this year, with the town limited to about $500,000 that you can apply for, there's not enough money to do a housing rehab program that would have a serious impact in town. With a budget of roughly $20,000 to $40,000, you'd only get 1 or 2 units out of it. And so by doing a social service that can impact the entire town, we can stretch that money to a lot more residents.
Well, I would just think because you have so many people backed up already on that.
Oh yeah, I agree, and we're definitely looking forward to putting the FY12 grant into that right now. So that money is actually going to be spent out through the next year, and then we can kind of overlap, maybe look at FY14 to start up the housing rehab program again. So there won't be that much lag time without a program. There is definitely still a considerable need in Baldwinville and town-wide to continue a housing rehab program. It just didn't make sense this year for the costs associated with that. That when you're putting in an application, there's a chance that the state would look at it as just a token second activity where you're just putting in 1 or 2 units just so you can get those bonus points.
Yeah.
And they could make the argument that the impact score, which is one of the key components of the scoring, could take a hit. So this, I think, in a year where it's going to be very competitive, I think this will maximize our chances to really show the state that we have a project that can really help people throughout town. And one of the biggest comments I get, I think, is why Baldwinville, why Back Bay all these years. And I think that doing a social service activity is a good compromise where we'll still be able to say it's a targeted activity, get the bonus points for that. Hopefully help as many people as we can.
We're going solo this year, right? We're not
right.
going.
I looked at all the towns around here, for possible partnership. Hubbardston has to sit out a year, so they weren't eligible. And then the other communities, they would have wanted to be the lead applicant on the application, and there wouldn't have been enough money to do the Back Bay project. So it's a very short list of towns that would help Templeton achieve what the real goals were.
Any other questions? I actually just have one. If we use that money for this outreach worker for the year, what happens the following year when that money's not there?
And this would be a roughly 16-month implementation period. And my understanding of it is essentially give us a person on the ground to alleviate a backlog of work. And then hopefully, town's finances could change in a year and a half, 2 years. But this would at least be able to start the process of a position that has already been approved.
Any other questions for Mike? Moving forward? Anything else you need to tell us about?
That's part of the hearing.
Okay. So we can close the hearing and then talk about the FY12. But this time we will close the public hearing on the 2013 CDBG grant and go back to our regular meeting. And then Mike has, I believe, the contract for Fisher Street.
Yep. So we put out a bid notice back in November for Fisher Street construction. The budget was about $550,000, not including paving. In the past, we've found that the town can save 30 to 40% by using the town's paving bid. So this year we came in with a contract. The lowest bidder was $444,799.50. When you throw in paving costs of roughly $80,000, to stay conservative on that, it's looking like the town may not have to put any chapter towards this project at all. We're definitely well below budget. The contractor, GEG Construction, has been vetted by the engineer that we hired.
Paul, this is Seacon. Sorry.
That's all right. All of their references check out. They're Mass DOT certified, pre-qualified. They have all the proper licenses, insurance, everything like that. So there's.
Have they done any of the other work back there?
They've not. They've bid several years in a row now. Last year, I believe, they were certified bid. But yeah, this is the first time that I believe Templeton has used them for anything. So we had, I think we had 15 bids come in.
That's a lot of bids.
Yeah, it was quite the showing. We had 2 that came in late, so we didn't open them. And the engineer reviewed every bid, checked their math errors, and
yeah, I saw there was a few on there.
And so now I put together a letter of recommendation. The engineer has a letter of recommendation in your packet as well. I don't see any reason to disqualify the low bidder in this project.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, I was actually going to read this, but you can read it if you want.
All right, yeah, okay. I make a motion to award a contract to GEG Construction Incorporated of Indian Orchard, Massachusetts, in the amount of $444,799.50 for reconstructing the roadway, curbing, sidewalks, guardrails, drainage, and water mains associated with Phase 5 of the Back Bay infrastructure improvements in accordance with the plan specifications and contract documents prepared by Weston and Sampson Engineers Incorporated, with the bid closing date of December 19th, 2012. Said contract award is subject to GEG providing the town with evidence of insurance and of performance and payment bonds as stipulated in the contract documents, with the chair to sign. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And Julie?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So we'll schedule a pre-construction conference with them in the coming months, with the hope of breaking ground probably late April, early May, roughly the same schedule that May has gone on.
How long do you think that's gonna?
It should be done by the end of the summer, depending on weather and things like that.
So this money has already been received?
Right, yeah, this is part of the FY12 award that the town got back in the summer.
Okay.
And I'll be working with Light and Water and Highway on this as well.
Very good.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mike.
No.
Thank you.
Doug, you're up.
Well, I appreciate your time tonight. Just wanted to be able to answer any questions that you might have regarding the carpentry quote. We did go out for quotes. We published it in the Gardner News, the Central Registry. We posted on the town clerk's bulletin board. We only received one quote from Moulton Construction. Moulton is the company that actually set the buildings, so they, were interested in working on the whole project, so that's why they submitted a quote. We were surprised that no one else submitted a quote for this is for the upstairs interior carpentry. The committee recommends that we, award this contract so that we can let them get started. They'll be able to do their work over the winter months because it's all inside work.
I haven't seen the posting, but by looking over this, it looks like they quoted you on more than just carpentry work.
That's good. The posting included both interior carpentry and the floor. The
subfloor, yeah.
The subflooring. The reason he split it out into two things is because, in his opinion, as a contractor, the floor needs a significant amount of work. We kind of discussed it as a committee. We listened to what he had to say. We engaged Bill, who's the general contractor, got his opinions, and agreed that, yeah, there's probably some more work than we had anticipated on the floor. But there's certainly some room for negotiation on what needs to be done. There's certainly, volunteer work to be done to take up files and that type of stuff. Certainly part of it could be done with corrections labor. So we decided as the committee that because there's so many unknowns now about the floor, that we would just award the carpentry piece of it and not the floor piece of it.
Okay. I guess my question probably to Jeff is where it was posted as all this work and only part of it's being done can we do that?
Definitely, maybe. I haven't requested any review by the state, and we've discussed this. The description you have before you is quite accurate. There, it's as if you had bid it separately. The floor is the floor, and carpentry is the walls, the windows, doors. It's quite clearly distinct.
Yeah.
The devil's in the detail in terms of what the posting was, and subject to reviewing that with the state OSD and the Inspector General, I would say if you do want to vote to move forward on this, doing the carpentry work only, subject to their final blessing, it would be fine.
Okay. Yeah, because the way Mr. Moulton here has it, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, John Moulton has it broken down. It is separate quote.